Welcome to another episode of the That's Scary with Melanie P podcast. I am your host, Melanie P, guys. Welcome to episode 24. This is a Wendy Williams episode. I am late to the game this week, so I had to pull it together, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm pulling it together, and it can't be more appropriate than the topic at hand of how I'm pulling it together. I just got back from vacation and I'm trying to slowly roll back into the podcast recording schedule that I was doing so well with. So it's me, it's you. I'm missing my glass of wine on episode 23, guys. So I'm ready to have a conversation. I have been trying so hard to minimize and condense my show to not be an hour and a half. But you know what? When you have guests on the show, even if it's me, I think the show that I had, the two shows I've had that I didn't have any guests were still over an hour long. But, you know, you guys love it. I get great feedback. So it is what it is. I'm going to start my show off per usual with a mental health check-in. Okay. How am I doing? This is a fake it till you make it type of, this is a fake it till you make it kind of mood that I'm in. I've had a great couple of days. I've had a great year for the most part thus far. I've gotten a lot of great news in the past week, so I'm feeling good about that. But mentally, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I feel like two things that always seem to work for me to get my mental to where it needs to be is working out, because those endorphins really get me feeling better, and I haven't done that. And then also smiling, like forcing a smile. I think I was frustrated and irritated and on some woe is me type vibe before recording. And you know what I did as I was holding my baby? I just started fake smiling. For those of you who don't know, I have my certification as a life coach. And so sometimes when I'm having a moment or having being triggered by certain things, I just try to bring to the forefront things that I already know. So I faked a smile, and that faking of a smile manifested into a better mood. So here I am, y'all. I'm not trying to hold you guys long today. It is a Monday night. It's already past 10 o'clock, guys. So this shows my level of dedication to the hustle, to the grind of being a podcaster. I had to make sure that I joined the conversation. Sips wine. I had to make sure I joined the conversation about this Eboni K business, y'all. So I searched for someone to kind of have this conversation with. I really, really, really wanted a male presence to have this conversation with, but I believe that things happen for a reason, and you get me, y'all. So Eboni K and Iyanla, Dr. Iyanla Vanzant. So listen, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Unless you've been under a rock, you've seen all on social media in the last week about this whole Eboni K and Iyanla Vanzant interview that took place last week. I, like many others, looked at the clip on Instagram and I had my opinion. So just to bring anyone to up to par with what I'm talking about. So basically, Iyanla Vanzant, who, let me just say, is a staple, or was a staple in my family with my parents and my brothers. We used to love watching that show, and we should have been on that show for shits and giggles, if for nothing else. But I always said that I wanted to surprise my family with an intervention with Iyanla, because I think that would be so like amazing if I could do that. I'm feeling my vibe. I'm feeling my energy. I'm feeling the core of Melanie and my energy coming to me slowly. Maybe it's the wine, I don't know, but I'm feeling rejuvenated. Sometimes you gotta be in your own energy, in your own space, to get back to who you are, the core of you. But anyway, Iyanla. So Eboni K, and I first came to know Eboni K from The Real Housewives. I think she was on The Real Housewives of New York. So, you know, when the housewives started having a token black, a token white. So they would have, like, after a lot of racial injustices and things that was happening in America, these shows started making sure they had, you know, an all white show started making sure they had one token black person, that so they could say that they checked that box. Bravo, especially on their housewives. But anyway, Eboni K was first introduced to a lot of people on The Real Housewives of New York. And I have to say that I thoroughly enjoyed her presence on that show. I didn't know then what I know now, that she is a very pro-black, woke type female. So I did notice on The Real Housewives of New York that she was very pro-black and had a lot of black history and wanted to share black knowledge and history with those ladies. That didn't come across well all the time, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed her. They didn't have her back, so whatever. Anyway, she was on an interview with Iyanla. So this is what I want to say. I think a lot of people, and this speaks to 2023, right? We see a clip, we hear a sentence, and we run with it. We don't research. We don't do the facts. We are a clip type people. Okay. Per example of that is podcasts, right? Podcasters lure you in by posting clips, right? So if I'm doing a podcast, I'm going to post the most salacious clip of my podcast just to lure you in. And so a lot of people saw the 2-minute, if that, clip of Eboni K saying that she would not date a man who was a bus driver. I'm going to drop that clip in the comments, in the description box for you guys if you haven't heard it. However, Iyanla Vanzant asked Eboni if she would date a bus driver, and Eboni K responded back and said if he owned the bus company. And that got, of course, everybody up in an uproar, right? Because honestly, it's a black woman and she's on on an interview setting her standards out for the world to see. And of course, everyone is appalled. So like many others, I was like, what's wrong with that? Like, why is it such an issue? Why is she being attacked predominantly by black men and black women for saying what her standards are? But after several days of, people hype stuff up in the first several days and then things start to die down. So I took the time to listen to that entire interview, okay? And it really changed my mind. So, would I date someone, a man, that was a bus driver? And my first thought on that was no, I would not. In my experience, and I have a lot of dating experience because I was a single woman, so what else would I be doing but dating? I can only say that I've dated one person who did not have a substantial income, and that did not work. So when I heard Eboni K say that she would not date a bus driver, but she would actually date, the gentleman or someone that owned a bus, it resonated with me. I think that when black women have high standards, it makes people feel uncomfortable. I think when black women, operate in a super soft life, a super feminine life, and they accept nothing less, I think that it makes people feel uncomfortable for whatever reason. And I think that the reason is, we're used to seeing non-black women in soft lives, right? If that's even proper grammar. We're used to seeing a certain looking woman living a soft life, having high standards, being rich, being taken care of by a man. And I think that for some reason, when a Black woman expresses that those are her standards, it makes people feel uncomfortable. At any rate, when I looked at the whole entire clip of Eboni K and Iyanla, it did make me kind of rethink my initial thought process. So here, I'm going to I've taken a few notes for those of you who have not listened to the entire interviews. I'm going to talk about that, but then I'm also going to talk about the interview that took place on The Breakfast Club. I feel like I have more opposition and more, honestly, anger from The Breakfast Club interview than I do the Iyanla Vanzant interview. I think that was just a wholesome two Black women, two educated, career-driven Black women having a conversation. They took out a blurb of a sentence and people ran with it. And I think that the bigger conversation should honestly be the conversation that took place on The Breakfast Club that I did not like. So, few notes here. Eboni and Iyanla, they're Saraj and they're both attorneys. So obviously Iyanla is a former attorney, and I think Eboni is also a former attorney as well. A little bit of back history as well that I thought was very interesting, that again, you haven't seen, all you've seen is a viral clip, but you have to kind of take a step back to understand the context of the conversation and of the interview. So in my research for this show, okay, Eboni wanted to interview Iyanla because Iyanla had been on The Breakfast Club several weeks ahead of her interview with Eboni, right? And on that initial interview with The Breakfast Club, Iyanla was talking about masculine energy, alpha men, alpha women, and saying how a lot of women are basically acting like men. A lot of women have very strong masculine energy, and how basically they need to sit down and shut up. And when Eboni K saw that interview, she wanted to have a discussion as a single woman with Iyanla to get her advice on singlehood, on dating, and kind of get a better understanding of why she thought that women are being too masculine and they're walking around wearing the pants, right? So that's a big key takeaway of how this interview even took place, or why. Again, Iyanla has been going around saying that women are being very, very masculine, too masculine, very alpha. And when Eboni K saw that, she really wanted to have a sit down with Iyanla to get a better understanding as to why she had these strong thoughts about women. I'm gonna sleep good tonight, y'all. All right, so let's start here. Eboni, she said that men being intimidated by women with power. Eboni states that her being a strong woman has affected her dating, right? So in the beginning of the interview, Eboni stating to Iyanla that, she has had issues in the dating scene because men have taken issue with her being such a strong, career-focused, career-driven attorney. And she even went as far as to say, men have told her, okay, turn the lawyer off. You're not a lawyer. We're not in a court, right? And I know men personally who think that way and have issues with women who are in, careers where maybe they are predominantly a male career, and they are very intimidated by women who basically don't need a man for money or status, because they have it themselves. And so I really understood Eboni K and, her saying that. And I thought that was a really good point that she made, being an attorney, being in the limelight, being very established, she has had issues in the dating world just because of that, right? Another key point that I thought stood out to me was the fact that Eboni K said that she believes a man's job is to provide and to protect, okay? Provide and to protect. But her caveat to that is that she says she's 39. Now, I don't don't know about that. When I saw her on the Housewives, I thought she was like 45, 46, and that's no shade to her, but she has a very mature, older presence and look and sounding voice. I'm kind of surprised that she's not even 40. That doesn't sound true, but whatever. But she was saying that in her almost 40 years of living, she's never met one man, including her father, that could and was able to provide and protect for her. And I think that that really sets a scene for a lot of women, right? I was having a discussion with a friend of mine today about that. And one thing I've realized in the past couple of years is that I have a very distorted view on how men should be. In my world, in my growing up, in my surroundings from born to now, I've been around men who are who provide and protect. Men who are family men who are providers, protectors, married, happily married. I've mostly been around successful marriages. And even if I was around marriages that was not successful, it was a lot of the time some of the women's fault. And in my own personal experience growing up, a lot of the men that I grew up around wanted to be married. They reverenced marriage. They yearned for marriage, and they were just good men looking for good women. So when I hear Eboni say that she's never, ever, including her father, right? Your father is your first love. Your father is your first example of what a man should be, right? So if you're saying that you're almost 40 and you to this day have never met or been around a man who was an example of somebody who can provide and protect, you're someone that should probably be in therapy. Don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger, right? I think that has to be a very unhealthy experience to be that age and to have not yet met one man that you thought of that was an example of a man that can provide and protect. So that's a key thing. I think that was a major takeaway. One thing that Iyanla said is that Black women are sometimes conditioned and programmed to act like men, meaning masculine energy, which is not who we are. She said that women can be competitive and aggressive, and that's not who women are naturally. That stood out to me because I'm a very competitive woman. I don't consider myself aggressive. However, I can understand where she's coming from. I think that I agree. I feel like women have been conditioned. And what's the word I want to use? Women have been conditioned involuntarily to have masculine energy. Here's the conversation that no one wants to say out loud. And here's what no man wants to admit to. No woman wants to be masculine. No woman wants to have to project masculine energy. No woman is born, unless maybe you're like, I don't know, the biggest dyke ever. I don't know. No natural woman is born exuding masculine energy. Let me compare it to something, right? For you guys to understand. Let me give you a parallel, right? Let me think of a parallel. A person who's being abused, they're not born to fear their abuser, right? Or let's dumb it down. A person who's been bitten by a dog, or who's had a bad experience from a dog. People are not born to fear animals, right? People are not born to fear dogs. People have experiences that then make them afraid of dogs. Okay, parallel to that. There's always a recurring conversation about women being masculine. Women are just so aggressive. Women are so masculine. And like a lot of men want to skip the beginning and go to the result, go to the effect. They want to skip the onset of why something happened, especially if it makes them accountable. They want to skip that part and they want to go to the part that makes them a victim of something, right? Example, no woman wants to be a masculine woman. No woman wants to be an alpha woman when she has a male partner. Women who are, in my opinion, who exude masculine energy in a negative way, the way Iyanla is presenting it, is because they have had experiences with men, i.e. Eboni, where they have not been provided for, they have not been protected, and they've had to take off their feminine garb. They've had to take off their dress and unfortunately put on trousers, right? No woman wants that. I just don't understand. Like, it's so many podcasts, it's so many clips, it's so many, Samuels of the world out here talking about masculine women, alpha women, and no one's talking about why they are like that. And you know why? Because they don't want to look in the mirror and understand that they have made women that way, right? So Iyanla was very big on saying that. I'm not disagreeing with Iyanla. In that interview, Iyanla was saying that, a lot of masculine women, and they should not be that way. And I totally agree. And I definitely think that that Eboni K agree with that as well. Okay. The whole aggressive and competitive nature, I don't think that I didn't like the competitive. Aggressive is a no. I don't think women should be aggressive, especially when it comes to men. I think that is a very masculine trait. But the competitive, I didn't like that. And she was very, she repeated that a lot. Women shouldn't be competitive when it comes to men. Now, this is not 1922. This is 2023. And I think that a little bit of healthy competition is very healthy. And I think that especially in relationships and especially with a man, but if you have a weak man, they don't want no competition. So again, men talk about stuff like masculine women. Men talk about, competitive women. Iyanla talking about competitive women. What person... Now, let me back up, because anything that's in excess is unhealthy. So anybody that's being too competitive or, too whatever, that's in excess, never good. But only an insecure man would have a problem with his woman giving him a little bit of competition. And I guess it depends on what the competition is in, right? So again, to Ebony's point, in her experience, a lot of men have had issue with the fact that she is an attorney, with the fact that she is, they've called her bougie, whatever the case might be. Men have had issue with that. Why? To me, if I'm looking for a partner, I'm looking for someone who can elevate me. And I think a sign of a strong alpha man is a man who wants to be elevated as well in a healthy way. Elevated, not meaning that I'm pouring into you. I'm elevating you and I'm just sitting here. You elevate me, I elevate you, and we keep it pushing, right? So I didn't like the competitive word that she said that she was kind of making negative. Iyanla also said that women should have grace. They should be nurturing. She said that women have lost their grace, compassion, elegance, and divinity. Okay. And all women think about is being a boss. So this is the thing. I agree. Iyanla's not saying anything that I don't agree with. Okay. Here's the thing. Iyanla is starting in the middle, like most men do. I think women are nurturers by default. Most women have grace by default. Now, let me just be clear with this. I'm not talking about the ratchet women of today's time. I'm not talking about the women who, let me just lay on my back and get paid from that. I'm not talking about those women. I'm talking about the Eboni K's of the world. So let me make that clear, right? Because I feel like Eboni K, I resonate with her. Career woman, strong woman, opinionated woman, alpha woman, which is, I think we need to get away from that. Get away from alpha, because people take, just like that clip, people take alpha and all this stupid stuff and they run with it. And it hasn't done the Black community any good. I don't think this whole, conversation of alpha male, beta male, alpha woman, whatever, feminine woman, it hasn't really done the Black community any good. And that's unfortunate, because I think that if those discussions were held in a healthy way, in a way where people's minds were open to have healthy conversation, to understand people's points of views, I think that it could really help elevate the Black couple, the Black partnership, Black people in a whole. But I think that people have just, like everything, people take these little, viral words and viral conversations and they just run with them. And when we get to the Breakfast Club conversation, you'll understand why I have a new respect for Eboni, because I agree with everything she said in the Breakfast Club, right? So I, again, agree with Iyanla. Grace, nurturing, women have lost their grace, compassion, elegance, and divinity. This is what I need. So Iyanla, why, right? Why? A good question that Eboni should have asked is why? Why do you think that women have lost grace, have lost nurturing? You know, I think it's like, let me get the percentage correct. I want to say, and this might be wrong, but over 30% of single households, and that has to be wrong. Is it more 80? A high percentage of single parent households are run by women. So if you're a woman who's having to wear the man pants and the woman pants and raise children and lead a household, you're not going to be the most nurturing, compassionate person at all times. Yeah, that's the goal. But as a Black woman, and I want to preface that this is what we're talking about, Black women, it's already hard, number one, to be a Black woman, but we're killing it. You know, Black women are the highest people who are buying real estate. We're the highest people getting degrees. And so even with all that being said, while running households by ourselves, we're still killing it. And I think that could be another thing that a lot of weak males in their subconscious mind, they don't like that. And that's really, really, really unfortunate. You know, to me, especially with the Breakfast Club, there should have been, in a perfect world, I guess, Black woman setting standards, Black people coming behind her to uplift those standards, not tear her down. Okay. So yeah, grace, nurturing, compassionate, elegance, that might not be the forefront now, unfortunately, for a lot of women. However, I mean, look at today's society. Divorce is at a high demand. Women are running households. In the dating world, niggas ain't shit. Like, I mean, we're the leaders, right? Like, I don't have no sons, okay? And I have 3 older brothers, and I will say my mama did a damn good job raising my brothers to be grown ass men who lead their households. You know what I'm saying? I know for a fact that all mothers are not raising their sons like that. And so what happens with that is that you raise a bitch and then he's out here being a bitch in the household. And I hate to say that. But it kind of starts from the woman, right? Because just like you have those women who are raising children by themselves, sometimes they drop the ball and they are enablers to these little boys, and these little boys become men who are having children, who are raising households, and they're not equipped to run a household. And a lot of times there's not a father in the home. There's this, there's that. So again, I think one of the key things is that we need to start at the beginning. I am a firm believer that the man should be the head. The man should lead. Don't ask me no questions. I don't know. Okay. I believe that if I'm doing something, if, and this is all, this is nothing really to my personal life. This is just all in just regular conversation. However, if I'm with someone, and I think a lot of women are like this, but we don't have the luxury of this. And I think this is what Eboni K was saying. When you're in a relationship, if you're in a marriage, I think in a perfect world for most women, they would have men that they trusted to be leaders, right? But I think that a lot of times men, over and over and over again, show examples of where they're not equipped to lead. Now, caveat, because we as women have to really learn how to, uplift our men without demeaning them. And that is difficult, because if a man is constantly showing you that he has to ask you 1,000 questions, or he's not confident, or he's not sure, or he can't do daily, regular, daily things, or, he's giving you over and over again examples of how he's not equipped to run a business, right? And by business, I mean a household, a family. Then that does definitely alter how a woman's going to look at a man. And it's definitely going to alter her confidence in him to take the lead. Here's the thing. You can't take the lead sometimes, right? You can't pick and choose when you want to be a leader. Either you're going to be a leader in your household 24/7, 365, or you're not. And that's going to produce a woman who isn't confident in your ability to lead, and is going to question, and is going to be confused, and is going to not feel confident in your answers. You know, you can't lead me if you're confused, because now I'm confused. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, women are smart. Women are very smart people. And it's like when as with anything, if you give somebody an example of how they're insecure in something, or they're not sure, if you put any level of doubt, especially if it's over and over and over again in a woman, then it's going to create consistent doubt, because now you don't know, you're not sure. So now I got to kind of step up because you don't know what's going on. And I agree with Iyanla, you know, this boss mentality, I don't want it. I don't want to be a boss. Like, I think this is where the whole women empowerment goes too far. I don't want to be a boss. And I don't like women saying that they're bosses. I think it's stupid. I think it's just dumb language that we've taken on. And I think that's very masculine, too masculine. Don't want to be a boss. My man a boss. I don't need to be a boss. I'm just, you know, I'm fine with being a lowly woman following my man. Okay. He the boss. I'm just back behind him. I'm behind him. He leads me. We good. But to Ebony's point, a lot of men can't lead. So now it makes the woman step up. And Ebony presented a lot of statistics about men's education level, or lack thereof, earning and wages. I mean, it's a good interview. It's a really good interview. But that wasn't the meat of the interview about men's income. So again, they kind of pushed that narrative. Again, I spoke about Ebony saying that men are supposed to provide and protect, and she's never had that, which again speaks a lot. Here's a good point that Iyanla made. She says that men build, women create. I agree. I thought that was very profound, you know, simple but profound. She said that it's a man's job to build. It's a woman's job to create. I thought that was really, really interesting. She said women should create and let things come to them. She said that she had to learn this, and that she had to learn to create and attract anything that she desired. She says we won't be still. We won't shut up. Okay. We manage through fear, struggle, and survival versus feeling, knowing, and blooming. We haven't been trained that way. Right. So I thought that was good. Men build, women create. I think it all goes back to women being in their feminine energy. Women are natural creators. We create life. It doesn't get more creative than that. If we can create life, what else? I mean, like, we hold life in our wombs. We are built to create. We are natural nurturers, but the shit just gets so distorted when, you know, people are not playing their roles. If Iyanla, it wants things to be perfect. Iyanla wants it to be a perfect world to where a man is playing his role, a woman's playing her role, and everybody's just going with the flow. And that'll be great. But people are not playing their roles. And if a man's not playing his role, if a woman's not playing his role, then it has to be supplemented. If a man is not doing his manly stereotypical duties, you know what I'm saying, then it has to get done. If a man isn't even in the home, those manly duties have to get done. And when that happens, women lose on their femininity because they're having to supplement the masculine energy that's missing in their environment. So I do agree with that. She said that you can be an alpha woman and still be feminine. I agree. I think that, again, we need to put in the trash this whole alpha woman, alpha female thing. Get that out of here. We don't need that, right? I think it's just done us more harm than it's done good. But if we're going to keep it, being an alpha woman doesn't mean that you lack femininity. Another false narrative, right? I can be alpha all day to a strong ass man. A strong ass man is going to want an alpha woman. Okay. A strong ass man is going to want an alpha woman, be able to manage an alpha woman, is going to make an alpha woman flourish. But a strong man is going to create an environment where an alpha woman can turn that alpha off and just follow her leader. And I don't care how barbaric that sounds. There's no woman who would prefer to be alpha and a leader versus being feminine and being led. There's no woman who's going to say that. No woman wants to be an alpha. Get it out of here. You're not a victim. Get it out of here. Okay. So again, this whole alpha female mess, please. But on the same token, a strong man is going to want an alpha woman. A secure man is going to want an alpha woman. An alpha woman is a woman who can be alpha but still have that femininity. But what happens is men have taken alpha woman and they've demonized it, right? Oh, you're being a man. You're being so alpha. That means that you're insecure. If you're insecure and saying that your woman is being a man or being an alpha, that means you ain't doing something. If your woman got to be a man, there's a problem. Look in the mirror. But again, men don't want to start in the beginning. They want to start where they are the victim. It is what it is. Don't get mad at me. Okay. If your woman is an alpha and you don't like it, or if your woman is giving you male energy and you don't like it, you need to look in the mirror and try to understand, what am I not doing? Here's the question. Here's the question that you need to ask yourself. What am I doing? What kind of environment am I creating that my woman thinks that she needs to be a man or be alpha? Very basic. I don't even have to get my therapy degree to understand that, right? If my kid feels like they're being abused, okay, I'm not going to abuse them more and make them feel like a victim, or to make them feel bad for feeling abused. I'm going to say, damn, what type of environment am I creating to make my child feel like they are being abused? Again, too far left, but you have to understand, people don't want to hear the truth, and that sucks. That really, really sucks. Okay. She said that women are out earning. Okay. So Ebony said that women are out earning men. It's just a fact. Here's the thing. Iyanla said, you can't teach a man how to be a man. You can't teach a man how to be a man. Now, I kind of disagree with that one. I think that a good woman is going to help mold her man, but the man shouldn't feel like he's being molded. So let me say that again. Most men require some type of molding, teaching. You're a helpmate, right? But I think you're doing that great and you're doing that right when the man does not feel like he's being trained or molded. Women are very smart. Dare I say that women are very much more smarter than men, but this is the thing. And these are my opinions, a man was built to have a woman was built to have a man. There's certain qualities and skill sets that men have that women don't have. And there's certain qualities and skill sets that women have that men don't have. And when we're operating in our roles appropriately and in a healthy way, we get to benefit from those, right? If my man is, creating an environment where I feel safe, where, like Eboni K says, I feel provided for, I feel protected, then he's going to get all the benefits of being with a woman that has a bunch to offer. But if you have your woman in an environment where they don't feel safe, where they don't feel protected, where they feel like, they're tiptoeing and being on ice, then you're not going to get everything that you can get. So I think the reoccurring thing here is, look in the mirror. Men should be the head of the household. Men should be the head of a relationship. Men should be the head of a marriage. And if something in your household is off, you fix it. Look in the mirror. If something in your marriage is off, you fix it. You start the process to fix it. Look in the mirror. It starts with you. You can't pick and choose when you want to be a leader. You can't be a leader when it's fun and when it feels good, but when it's something hard or something that's going to require maybe you to feel uncomfortable, then you're looking to your woman to be the leader. That's not fair. It's not fair, and it makes a bitch be real alpha when she don't want to be. Repeat myself over and over again. No woman wants to be an alpha female in a relationship with a man. No woman wants that. I got a lot of friends and everybody say the same thing. Nobody wants that. Okay. Okay. So here's the kicker. Let's fast forward. So finally, after now this all this conversation takes place even before we get to the whole bus driver conversation, right? So that's why it's imperative to look at the whole interview in its entirety, because this interview is not just about a bus driver. This interview is not just about who would Ebony date. The interview is about women and men and roles and masculine energy and feminine energy and, Iyanla giving advice to Ebony. It's not at all about who Ebony would date. That was a 30-second blurb in a whole 30-minute interview. But randomly, I think Ebony is just, kind of wanting to reboot the interview and saying, here are the stats. Here's, women are top earners. Women are buying, black women are top earners. Black women are dominating the HBCUs. Black women are dominating the career. They're dominating the pay scale. What is her suggestion, meaning Iyanla's, for black women? And then Iyanla asks, would you date a bus driver? Now, this was very out of left field. So I can tell it kind of caught Ebony off guard because Ebony kind of looked into space and thinking. And she just gave a quick kind of funny but maybe true answer if he owned the bus company. And Iyanla was like, well, I don't know about that. I don't like that. So she says, this is what Iyanla says that kind of had me changing my tune, right? So initially I'm like, hell no, I ain't dating no bus driver. I'm not about to be out here and doing what I do, making what I make, and I'm dating somebody because I've done it and it does not work, especially if you're used to a certain lifestyle. If I want to go on vacation and if I can buy my plane ticket, I would prefer that you bought both of our plane tickets, but at least be able to buy your own, at least be able to fund half the trip, if not more. You're not doing that if you have a very small salary, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think here's the big key that people are missing. Ebony says she's 39. When you get to a certain age, those things matter more than they don't matter. Iyanla said, well, I can build with a bus driver. You know what I'm saying? She said, so let's get to what she says. She says that if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he treated her well, she could build with him. She said that the criteria that women are looking for is what is making women be sad and lonely. Now that part, she kind of got me. So Iyanla states that if he treats me well, if he treats his mom well, if he has integrity, I can build with that. I didn't agree with that part, but then I had a conversation with a friend and I was like, damn, you know what? There's so many caveats to the whole bus driver conversation, or income conversation. So my thing was, I don't want to date someone who makes less than me. But you have to be more detailed than that, right? If I make, and I'm throwing this out here, if I make $60,000 a year, I don't want to particularly be with somebody who makes $20,000 a year or even 30, really even 40, if I make $60,000 a year and my partner makes 55 or 50, maybe so, right? Here's the other caveat. If I have a kid and I make $60,000 a year, and my partner makes $50,000 a year with no kid, then that might kind of adjust how I'm looking at that, right? So there's so many caveats to that. I do think that Ebony was kind of trying to be funny. She probably meant what she said, but and if she did, it is what it is. Stop demonizing black women for having standards. You don't hear any other culture. Really, you hear a lot. Most of the cultures push their daughters out the door for a rich nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like Asian people go marry a doctor, right? Indian people go marry somebody in tech, which is so stereotypical of me to say these things. But a lot of other cultures push their women to be with successful men who are able to provide and protect. Black people are the only people coming after a woman for saying that she wants somebody who can provide for her and protect. And if she feels like a man who drives a bus can't provide for her, then more power to her. The caveat to that, and the point that Iyanla made that had me kind of switching gears, is she said that the criteria and the prerequisites that black women have is what's leaving them alone and lonely. Now that got me. That got me because Black women, although we have the education, although we have the income, although we have the careers, although we have all of that, I feel like we are in the top percentile of single women amongst all races. And I don't like that. And I think that's why you have a lot of women raising children by themselves, being forced to be put in these masculine environments because of just their situation. So I feel like she got me there. Although I don't prefer a bus driver, although I've had the experience to where I tried to date down, and it did not work for me. And that's not fair. That's not fair. I don't want it. I don't want it for nobody. However, if there's a lot of women out here who want children, who want to get married, they're knocking on 45's door. And sometimes you got to dumb that list down, right? And that's not fair. I don't know if that's me saying that or if that's Iyanla speaking through me saying that, because I'm not an advocate of dumbing it down. I believe that if you want a certain something, you can get a certain something. But I also believe that sometimes we are our own worst enemy with these lists of prerequisites and criteria. You can't be, saying, oh, well, I make 6 figures and I want my man to make 6 figures, but you're drowning in debt. You know what I'm saying? You have all this debt. You don't own a home. This man might own a home, be debt free, and make $20,000 less than you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it just comes with being smart, right? Another conversation I had today, you could be with a man who makes, what you make or has that check mark financially, but treats you like shit and you're unhappy. So I think ultimately that bus driver comment was a blurb in a whole 30-minute interview that I thought was very great. But I think this is another conversation that needs to be had, but women can really kick themselves in the butt with these requirements. And I don't want to be hypocritical because I know I ain't gonna be with nobody who broke. Not gonna do that because she ain't broke, meaning me. She hurt me, not broke. And I never will be broke. I'll always be well off. Period, point blank. It is what it is. And that kind of energy is kind of energy I want in my man. I don't want no man who's going to be settling for, minimal when they don't have to, And that leads me to the Breakfast Club. Oof, child. I was so disappointed. So I watched the whole interview with Iyanla and with Eboni K. Great interview. I thought it was a great interview that was overshadowed by this 30-second blurb. The viralness was not in that clip. The viral blurb was in the Breakfast Club. So first of all, DJ Ivy, sit down. Have several seats in all those cars and homes that you own with your wife who hasn't had an orgasm in years. Okay. His energy towards Eboni K on that interview, I did not like. I thought he was very aggressive, too aggressive. I thought he was very rude. I don't care. Eboni is a guest on your show. And no matter if she is talking over you, she was never rude to him, but I think he was very rude to her. I think that he was on some Captain Save a Hoe shit, and he ain't saving that hoe. He's saving I don't know who, but he was very much given attack. What's wrong with these black men, right? This is what I would have wanted to see. A black woman saying, I have these requirements. I look at myself as a queen. I'm this, I'm all that. This is what I want. She didn't put nobody down. She didn't say bus drivers suck. She didn't say bus drivers are broke. She didn't say none of that. She simply said that she would not prefer to date a bus driver, but she has certain standards that she would want a man who owned the busing company. Now that could have Eboni K being alone for the next 20 years. That's her business. By the end of the day, I want to see the outrage and the outpour to support this black woman, not knock her down. She could be wrong, dead wrong. But that don't affect your life. If this woman got these stupid criteria and list, Eboni K is a single woman. She ain't got no man. So maybe that's her lesson and that's her journey to go on. Black men come and protect black women. Where are you? Why is it that anytime a black woman is vocal in the media, where is the outpour of black men coming to support the black woman, i.e. Meg Thee Stallion? A bitch got shot in the foot and is getting attacked by black men everywhere you turn. What's wrong with that picture? Right? Nia Long, I have to applaud, can't remember the guy's name. I'm gonna put it in the description. I want to say Steve something. I just applaud the fact that she hasn't made no comment about her husband cheating on her with some white woman he worked with publicly. This man went on and had a whole statement about how he cheated on her in front of everybody, embarrassed her. She ain't said nothing, but this, I want to say Stephen A. I don't know. But this man got on TV last week and said how Nia Long's, I guess, now estranged husband had no right putting her on blast and having a freaking, what do you call it? A whole press conference about him cheating on her. He should have respected the black woman enough to where that was held between them two and that was not put on Front Street by him. He shouldn't have said shit. Fuck his job. He got a black woman with him. But you know what? He fucked her over for a white woman. So it is what it is. I did not like on the Breakfast Club the aggressive nature in which DJ Envy came at Eboni K. All right. So here he go with his cheating ass, right? I mean, he has a whole wife who's saying that she went years. I love hearing noises in the background. That she went years without even having an orgasm. Your focus should be there. Your focus should be there. Not fussing and tearing down a black woman. So DJ Envy said that people were upset because they feel like she was putting down the average worker. So first of all, do your research, listen to the whole entire interview. Eboni K did not once in that entire interview put down any average worker. She never did that. So again, attacking your guest and saying that he kept trying to say that he was the voice of the average worker. You're not the average worker, so you're not their voice. You're not there to attack your guest. Did not like that. Then one thing that he said that I don't have any details on is about her having a white fiance. So DJ Envy tried to kind of throw into that interview that, well, you out here trying to uplift black people and uplift black men, and you had a whole white fiance. Who cares? Like, his wife looks white. Who cares? Like, who cares? If she had a white fiance, she can still uplift her people and have a white fiance. If she's saying the dating pool is cloudy out here and there's not a lot of black men on her level, or if she's saying that, and if she chooses to date outside her race, who cares? Black men do it every day. The more high up they get, the more outside their race they go. So where is that outrage? Where is that outrage, right? Black men are famous for getting rich and leaving a black woman. Keep that same energy for your next guest who has a white wife or a white girlfriend. Keep that same energy, DJ Envy. I don't like that. Again, DJ Envy kept saying that she was shitting on the average American. I didn't like that. I applaud Charlemagne for kind of coming in and calming his ass down, talking all over her, raising his voice, being very aggressive. I didn't like that. And those two women podcasters, that they had on the show, why they was there. They had nothing to offer the Breakfast Club interview. They had nothing to offer the interview. Why were they there? I don't know. Why were they there? It was weird. Please put me there. Please put me in that seat, please. They had really nothing to offer. It is what it is. So I didn't like DJ Envy. Here are some of his texts. She shitted on the average Joe. She was hurting the community. She has a white fiance. All just kind of daggers. He kept cutting her off. He kept saying that, I let you speak for 22 minutes. Now it's my turn. She is on your show. You're interviewing her. She's not interviewing you. So if she has something to say, protect Black women. Keep that energy. I've seen people come to the Breakfast Club and chew this nigga out, and he ain't had nothing to say. But this Black woman come on the show, giving her opinion. You invited her on the show, and you gonna keep that aggressive energy for these niggas who come on the show ready to fight your ass and beat your ass. Keep that energy. I don't like that. Black men, get it together. Is he even Black? Is he even Black? People have been so disrespectful to him in his face, and he ain't had that kind of energy. But this Black woman has just her opinion and her criteria of who she wants to date, and now you mad and you talking for the people. Child, sit down. Please sit down. Like, I mean, really? Like, and it's so funny because, I think Charlamagne could tell that he was going too far. And so, again, kudos to Charlamagne for kind of bringing it back and, understanding that he has a guest, understanding interview etiquette. I could have a guest on my show that I've had guests on my show that I don't agree with what they're saying, but I'm never going to be rude to a guest on my show. Never going to happen. Okay. Now they had a conversation about like C's and D's and mediocre. So I think it's an instance of semantics at this point, but I think that's where the argument on the Breakfast Club kind of came into play. Like, now Eboni K kind of lost me when she was talking about mediocre and, all these words to describe a bus driver or somebody who has a lower job. And I'm just paraphrasing. But when I listened to her and she explained, she sat there and she explained what she meant by that. And she gave us the definition of what mediocrity means and how that's defined. Then it made sense. That actually made sense. So we hear the words mediocre and we think of something negative. But I think when she looked up the word mediocre, it just means, regular, average. And initially I was like, girl, you're going too far. But when she explained it and she said that, we shouldn't be okay with our children bringing home C's and D's. We shouldn't be okay if you have if you have a doctor skill set, if you have a scientist skill set, but you stop at being a bus driver, then you're mediocre. I agree with that. Now, nobody's saying that it's bad. Nobody is saying that if you're just a bus driver or a Uber driver or whatever the case might be, that you're below and you suck. I think that what she's trying to say is that as Black people, and I've said this on my show so many times before, as Black people, we unfortunately have to work triple as hard just to get to the starting point, the starting line with our counterparts. And that's the unfortunate truth, right? I had a good point that I wanted to make, and I can't remember what it was. I don't know. I had a good point that I wanted to say. She was talking about the real wealth is in owning real estate, stuff like that. And it made me think about, DJ Envy. I think he's a realtor, so that should have resonated with him. I want to repeat what I just said, but I think her main thing as a Black woman, as most Black women, right? If we see our brothers, having potential to be better than just mediocre, we want to push them to be better. But I think that on that interview, DJ Envy specifically tried to turn her words around and use them against her. And that's just like media 101. That's horrible. That's horrible. Like, saying that she shitted on the average American, I did not like that. And even if he felt that way, protect Black women at all costs. Protect Black women at all costs. Protect Black women at all costs. Period. Point blank. I'm going to put down in the description the Breakfast Club interview as well as the full interview with Iyanla Vanzant. I think that it was such a great interview. I think that and here's the thing. Here's what they said on the Breakfast Club. Why would you choose that clip to make the clip for your interview? Because that wasn't the whole meat of the interview. But she made a good point. I had a whole podcast about finances that had so much information for people as far as credit score, and as far as building financial wealth and understanding your credit score and all these things, that to this day is my lowest streaming podcast, right? People want to hear the mess. But the good thing is that it got the conversation going about what we can do as Black people to be more than mediocre. Dr. Envy, DJ Envy, Charlamagne and God, and those two other girls, they know that Black people have to work triply as hard. And for them to sit up there, specifically DJ Envy, and act like what Eboni K was saying wasn't the truth, it just really floored me, to be honest with you. It really, really floored me. Listen, guys, I couldn't let this whole Eboni K, Iyanla Vanzant Breakfast Club thing go by without giving my 2 cents. I think my closing things are this. Listen to the whole interview that's in the description. It's a really, really good interview. I think there's so many good points. I would say to listen to that whole interview with your partner or with your friends, whoever. I thought it was a really good conversation starter for couples about masculine and feminine energy. I will say that conversation is probably one of the most healthiest conversations that I heard to kind of explain Black women and kind of being, feminine and the whole alpha conversation. I think that the interview had a lot of great conversation starters. Honestly, I might have me a little party and have a bag of questions. If you know, you know. Thank you guys so much for listening to me. Next week's episode is going to be here before you know it. Listen, you know where to find me. You can find me on Instagram at @thatscary_podcast. The YouTube will be dropping for this interview, for this podcast soon. Stay tuned for the next episode and make sure you're sharing, liking, and commenting on the podcast, guys. Thanks so much.